In 20 seconds, you can change someone's life. I'm going to tell you how. In this first episode, I'm going to convince you that you matter. What you say, what you do, and all the ideas and thoughts you have matter. Not just to me or your friends and family, but to the world as well. I'm going to show you how and why you matter, and why you should be excited about it, as well as humble. Welcome to J.A.R.R.E.D Talks. My name is Jared, and today I'm just a really encouraging dude, because today we're talking about how and why you matter and who you matter most to. In case you haven't heard, you can come and watch and join in on the discussion during the podcast live on twitch.tv. Just click the link in the description and jump in. If you've ever gotten to the end of a live broadcast, you would have heard these words at least once. What you say, what you do, and what you got going on inside your mind matters. And, as always, there's enough bad shit going on in the world, so do one good thing every day. I say that at the end of every live stream to the audience and myself to remind each of us that what we say, what we do, and what we think means something. In the first episode of the J.A.R.R.E.D Talks podcast, I figure I'd explain that idea just a bit more. So let's get into it. So what you say matters, right? Here's the thing. Have you ever cried listening to a song or after reading a book? I think that's obvious that mattered something to you, at least a little bit, right? Actually, one thing that happened to me is there's a song by Tom Petty off the Wildflowers album. It's called You Don't Know How It Feels. It's a beautiful song. I should probably play it on stream at some point, but it's a beautiful song. It not always, but a lot of the times it reminds me of a friend of mine that committed suicide a long time ago. And it just struck me as like, I don't think a lot of people, I could feel like that was his energy, like that was his the way that he thought as all that went down. And it was about, I think it was about the same time that album came out, if I remember correctly. And I was listening to that whole album, and all of those things just happened to happen at the same time. And I remember listening to that song and thinking about that guy, and it hit me pretty hard. I mean, I generally don't cry for a lot of different things, but that one got me. And there was another time, actually, I was listening. It was really early in the morning. It was like 6, maybe 6:30. I was going to work, and I was just in a bad situation, and this song, Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For, came on the radio by U2, and those lyrics just got me. And I remember driving to work really early in the morning, working my ass off, and recognizing, like, this is not it. You know what I mean? Like, what am I doing? And it just got me. I was, bawling like a baby. But I think, obviously, words, lyrics have an effect on people. Here's another one, maybe. Have you ever given your word? Or have you ever promised something to someone? Obviously, that means something to someone. Maybe a pinky promise, right? You ever pinky promise somebody? Obviously, that means something to someone. What you say means something to other people. I think Tony Montana said it best in the movie Scarface. All I got in this world is my word and my balls, and I don't break them for no one. Right? I mean, he summed it up pretty well. It's like, that's all you got in this world. Is your word. My word is my bond. So If you really want to get all religious on it, you can think about it this way. Jesus Christ says in Matthew 12, verses 36 and 37, "But I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment." Verse 37, "For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned." So if you want to get religious on it, you can think about it in those terms. But I think it's pretty obvious at the end of the day that what you say has an effect on people. It truly does. At the end of the day, maybe that's how someone else's words mean something. Maybe somebody else's lyrics or something else going on, right? But what does what you say have an effect on you right now? I think an easy example of that would be, have you ever told a joke and made someone laugh? Or have you ever said something and made somebody cry? Have you ever said something and made somebody angry? Right? I think it's fairly obvious what you say means something. You know, there's a lot of chatters. Like if you ever come on Twitch, sometimes we do have people that come in and just start talking a bunch of shit. You know, they are just trying to rile the group up, and we've had to deal with that a couple of times, and pretty experienced at it nowadays. You know. But I mean, it's pretty obvious. Some people want to change that vibe. Some people want to either get banned or shunned or whatever. Some people they get off on that, and they're using their words. They're typing their words to be able to do something like that. What's interesting is I think it's possible to give a kind word to someone, and the fact that you can lift somebody's spirits, you can actually change their life. Just by lifting their spirits. I think it's very interesting, how words can impact people. They say sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I think that's wrong. I think words, a word of encouragement, a word of, demeaning somebody or derogatory or racism or any of those things. Racism generally comes out in words, sometimes actions, but mostly words, and I think it's fairly obvious at the end of the day, if you take a step back, maybe take a deep breath and recognize that what you say can have an impact on other people. We're going to take a little break, and when we get back, we're going to see how what you do matters. We'll be back in just a minute. Welcome back. You're listening to the J.A.R.R.E.D Talks podcast. This episode is all about you, because you matter. Now, we've already looked at how what you say matters, but what about action? Meaning, how does what you do matter? Gandhi said, action expresses priorities. He also said the future depends on what we do in the present. Action expresses priorities, meaning what you do expresses what you feel strongest about. What we do in the present determines the future. So if actions express priorities, basically, so your thoughts are coming through as actions, right? So if that's the case, then you can show someone you love them. You can show someone that you're thinking of them or you care about them just by your actions. They say actions speak louder than words, right? So if actions express priorities, what I do will express my priorities in terms of what I feel is most important, right? I think the second part of that, what we do in the present determines the future. I think that's the thing to get excited about, I only believe this partially, but I think it's easy to see in everyday life. You know, it's very easy. So if I start working out now, I can get a six pack, my abs, which I don't have, by the way. Not saying I got a six pack, but I can get a six pack in, let's say, 3 to 6 months. Some people will promise you the world and say you can get a six pack in a month, right? But let's be conservative and say 3 to 6 months. So obviously, what you do today is cumulative, and eventually the consequences of what you do will show up. So if I work out every day, eventually that cumulative consequence is going to add up to me having a six pack, let's say, or whatever. We talked about this. I talked about this earlier. I am going to be a little somber, a little serious, and I'm going to use a reference that's very serious to drive this point home. So bear with me. I want to ask you: have you ever known someone that has taken their own life, has committed suicide? As I said before, I have, and anyone, including myself, will tell you, I wish I had done something or said something. I wish I had done more. You know, I think maybe that's a selfish thought. I think that was probably my first thought when I heard about that, was I wish I had said more, done more to show that dude that, you know, he had somebody in his corner, you know, there was, you know, there's a way out, you know. At the end of the day, I say, you know, I think you can't save everyone, you know, and not everyone is your responsibility. But I think we can reach out and check in. You know, I think we can make people a priority in our lives, and, you know, actions express those priorities. At the end of the day, the act of suicide, and even though it happened years ago, it had a profound impact on that person's kids. He had 2 little girls. It had a big impact on them. You know, their life would never be the same after that. The finality of that action, the consequence of that action, changed those 2 little kids' lives forever. And I mean, obviously, what he did mattered. You know, unfortunately, the last thing that he did mattered the most, and it could have been something much better. He could have done something much better to impact his kids than that thing. It had a big impact on me as well. I think, and so many more people I know. I mean, his dad. I knew his dad. I knew a lot of the people that, you know, well, some of the people that he knew, and it had a big impact on those people, and it wasn't a good impact. I want to make this very clear. His death didn't make anyone's life better in any way. And unfortunately, he is not around to realize that. You know, he made a decision and did something, and it created consequences that he can never take back. He can't do that over again. You know, life is not a video game. You can't just respawn somewhere. I really feel like suicide is selfish and egotistical, and sometimes, you know, matter of fact, all of the time. I think you have to be humble enough to ask for help and to actually accept it. You know, I feel like that act was very selfish of him, and anybody that takes their own life. I think you have to be humble enough to say, you know what, I'm not in a good place mentally, and I really need help. I need somebody to talk to. I need somebody to bounce ideas off of. And if I can't see a way forward, or the past is just so terrible, I need to figure out, I need somebody to help me change the way that I'm thinking. And at the end of the day, if you're feeling those things and you have suicidal thoughts and those kind of things, tell somebody about it. Call a suicide hotline or whatever you have to do. But remember that what you say and what you do have an impact, have a lasting effect on the people around you. And because of that, you as a person matter. So if you're in that mode of I don't matter, my life doesn't matter, nothing about me, whatever, I think it's fairly obvious that what we do and what we say matters. I think we've solidified the idea of what we do affects the people around us. But let's get a bit more abstract and a little bit deeper. It's two things I want to get into. I promised you at the beginning of the podcast, a little teaser, that you can change somebody's life in 20 seconds. We're going to get into that. And first I want to get into what's called the butterfly effect. So basically the idea is that a butterfly flaps its wings on one side of the world and it creates a tsunami on the other side, right? Now, the way I look at that is there's a song by Led Zeppelin, which I think is amazing. And Robert Plant is the lead singer of Led Zeppelin. He sang this song called 10 Years Gone. And in the song it says, the greatest thing you can ever do now is trade a smile with someone who's blue now. And that's a very interesting idea to me, because I really feel like you can change someone's life by just smiling at them. By, I don't know if maybe your significant other, or maybe your parents, or maybe your brother, or your siblings, maybe there's somebody in your life that you've been down, and when you see that person smile, it makes you feel better. I think getting into that idea a bit deeper is something like, let's say you're at a coffee shop and you see somebody that's sitting by themselves. You can feel that person is just down. They're just not feeling very good. And they're in a bad headspace. And you give them a little bit of a smile, not a flirtatious smile. There's all kinds of different smiles, but just a warm, friendly, hey man, it's gonna be okay kind of smile. Now, you can cheer that person up, and they can go home, have a great night with their family. Or you can not do that. You can make somebody angry. You can make somebody cry. And again, the consequences of that influence that we all have, not just me sitting talking to you on either a podcast or on Twitch, but that influence we all have, that we're all capable of, can change somebody's life. I mean, you can cheer that person up and maybe they don't kill themselves, and their kids don't have to grow up without a dad. Maybe you made someone angry and they go home and hurt their little child, their little kid. Maybe that kid grows up with bruises and pain and becomes some kind of psycho. I mean, you have to remember that because of the power you hold as an influencer, we're all influencers, right? Because I can smile at somebody and maybe change their outlook or their thought process, or break them out of this gloom that they're feeling. I don't always have her smile. Like, you can be crushed under the weight, the overwhelming idea that, I am in control of everything. Like, I don't want you to go to that effect. I just want you to remember that what you say and what you do, it matters. And I think probably the easiest way to understand all of this is if you're a parent. If you're a parent, it's pretty easy to watch almost in real time what you say or what you do affects the little faces, that's what I call kids, little faces around you, and therefore the world. Back in the day, I was with my ex-girlfriend, and her brother had 2 little kids, and I thought it was hilarious. Her brother played hockey, and you can use puck for the F word kind of deal, and I thought it was funny to kind of joke around with that. Not actually say the word, but joke around, like, what the puck are you doing? Like, and I still think it's funny, right? The problem is if they come home and this kid starts inappropriately using the word puck, first of all, I'm gonna get blamed. But second of all, you can see the influence of that. And my ex wasn't too happy about it. And I stopped. I only did it for like 5 minutes. And then I realized like what I was doing. I was like, okay, I can't do that. It's funny, but it's not good, right? I thought it was kind of funny, but I didn't do that anymore, because I recognize it's a good kid, and these are good people. And, you try to have good, respond with good, don't want to be bad, don't want to be a bad influence, right? And, but if you're a parent, you see it all the time. You'll see your kids pick up your mannerisms, your speech, your accent, your everything. And you can see that you as a parent, as a person matter. There's this other little face that is just hanging on your every word. And even all the way up until they're grown, that person is going to hang on your every word. They're going to hang on your actions, your movements, your isms. It's very easy to see that as a parent that you matter because you matter in that person's life. Unfortunately, getting back to the person that committed suicide, they just were in there. I think he was in his own little bubble. He wasn't looking at, the true world around him. I think it's easy for the wall. That's what Pink Floyd's The Wall is all about, is letting that stuff build up. I think he let it build up too much. And I wish I would have done it if I had. There's such a thing as the 20-second hug. Have you ever heard about the 20-second hug? They say, it's been proven, that if you hug somebody for 20 seconds, it is shown to lower blood pressure and to deeper connections. It can help anxiety and depression in each person, not just one person, but the other person as well. And you can change somebody's life that way by just giving them a 20-second hug. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to do this maybe right now, wherever you happen to be. Maybe you're watching on twitch.tv/The J.A.R.R.E.D Show, or maybe you are listening to this on a podcast. I want you to stop for a second. I want you to go find somebody. I want you to give them a 20-second hug. And they're going to pull away after like 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, after 15 seconds, they're like, what is wrong with you? Leave me alone, right? But what you want to do is you want to hold on and you want to just tell them, hey man, this is a 20-second hug. We're going to hug maybe tell them before, that might help. But go hug them for 20 seconds. And it might be a long 20 seconds, right? But just stand there and hug for a second, right? Like I said, it's shown to lower blood pressure. It deepens connections. It helps anxiety and depression. It's a very good thing. You can change somebody's life that way. You can lessen their anxiety. You can lessen maybe that dark hole that they're in. You might even be able to help them physiologically. You never know. So we've gone over what you say and what you do. So what about what you think? How does that impact your life? What you do expresses your priorities, right? So your priorities, what you say and what you do express your thoughts. But your thoughts aren't always expressed that way, but thoughts can have a profound impact on your life. Look at it this way, okay? So before you decided to type, let's say you're in Twitch, you're hanging out with us in Twitch, and you're typing in something, hey Jared, how you doing? Good to see you. I love the podcast, whatever, right? Before you type that, you had to tell your hand, right, to move. So you had to think those words first. Think about it this way. Thoughts are the driver of the vehicle known as the body. good driver or a bad driver, it is a big difference either way. So thoughts have a profound impact. We're going to probably do a podcast on just thinking, stinking thinking, and garbage in, garbage out, those kind of ideas sometime in the future. Probably not the next one, we'll see. But I think it's definitely an interesting idea. I love to talk about the mind and metaphysical and how all these things kind of come together. But I think the easiest way to understand it is that thoughts are things, that what you think can turn into action. And if you're always beating yourself up in your own head, that too will turn into action. You know, your actions express your priorities. Your priorities are your thoughts, right? Your actions express your thoughts. So right now, generally, in the future episodes, we're going to start doing a live discussion, a little Q&A, or whatever comments you happen to have. Not a whole lot of people here at the moment, because it's the first one I've ever done, and I actually went live a little earlier than I usually do. I go live from now on, I'm going to try to be going live at 7 o'clock every night on Twitch. That's Eastern Standard Time in the United States. So here is where I would like to start having the discussions, see kind of what you guys think. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of people here right now because this is the first time I've ever done this. So I got to allow people to catch up. But in future episodes, we'll be able to see what the people got to say about it, you know. And you can come in, you can say whatever is on your mind, whether you agree with me or you disagree with me, or you have scientific backing that shows that I'm an idiot, or that I'm a genius, or however you want to do that is fine with me. Maybe you have a story of your own. Maybe you've dealt with suicide. Maybe you've thought about suicide and you want to talk to somebody. Any of these kind of things, anything that has to do with the podcast as a whole, or just really whatever's on your mind, I guess. You can go to twitch.tv/The J.A.R.R.E.D Show and just jump in. So I think here's the bottom line to what I've been saying here. I think what you say matters to the people around you. So here's the thing, man. Say I love you more. It's very easy. I think what you do matters and has an impact on the world. So try to go do as much good as you can. What you think matters. It's a precursor to what you say and do. And at this point, I hope you have arrived at the obvious fact that you matter. You have the power to make people laugh. You have the power to make people cry. You have the power to make people be angry. You have the power to help other people, and you have the power to be self-sufficient. The late Mahatma Gandhi said, "Happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony." He also said, "In a gentle way, you can shake the world." Always know that with great power comes great responsibility and hard decisions. And exactly how and why you will shake the world, I don't know. I just know that you're capable of it. As am I. I'm shaking the world right now. Because if each of you listening or watching this on Twitch remember how powerful you are and choose to wield that power for the benefit of someone else, as Jesus Christ said, we can move mountains. Remember that you matter. What you say, what you do, and what's going on inside of you, it matters. So don't take yourself lightly. Be humble, be strong, try to do good things. And I think that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you for listening wherever you may be. And a special thanks to all the chatters here, Furious, everybody else watching the live stream. Again, if you would like to watch this podcast live and join in the discussion, you go to twitch.tv/The J.A.R.R.E.D Show and jump right in. If you missed an episode, want more content, want to get some cool stuff, or just curious, you can go check out thej.show.com. There you'll find the podcast, the store, and links to just about everything, including my social media and the live stream. speaking in the live stream. We're going to keep things going, and we'll see you next time on J.A.R.R.E.D Talks.